The water kept running long after midnight, thin and cold, as if the house itself had forgotten how to sleep. The kitchen light burned like a lonely moon, and in its pale glow a woman stood at the sink, shoulders bent, fingers red, washing dishes that were not hers to keep. Somewhere behind her, a child watched with wide eyes, and a truth heavier than any plate hovered in the air. She was still there, long after everyone else had decided she should have been gone. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet miracles that happen when people choose compassion over comfort, take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this live because people like you believe they matter. She had arrived in the house months earlier with a single suitcase and a heart that beat too loudly for her chest. Her name barely mattered at first. She was simply the woman who helped, the one who cooked when the days were too long, who cleaned when the nights felt endless. The house was large, elegant, filled with tall windows and polished floors, but it carried a hollowness that echoed with old grief. The man who owned it moved through his days like a shadow of himself, efficient and distant, doing what needed to be done but rarely more. And the boy, small and watchful, learned early how to read the spaces between people, how to sense when love was present and when it was missing. She did not ask questions. She did not complain. She learned the rhythms of the home the way one learns a new language, slowly, with mistakes and patience. Mornings began before sunrise, coffee brewing quietly while the rest of the house slept. Days were spent in motion, hands always busy, mind always elsewhere. Nights were the hardest. When the house settled into silence, memories crept in, uninvited and sharp. She remembered another kitchen, smaller and warmer, where laughter once bounced off the walls. She remembered promises that had dissolved under the weight of illness and loss. Coming here had not been her first choice, but it had been her last. The boy noticed things adults missed. He noticed how she flinched at loud noises, how she paused before sitting down as if unsure she was allowed to rest. He noticed how she saved the best portions of food for him, how she folded his clothes with extra care, smoothing out wrinkles that did not matter. He noticed that when she smiled, it was gentle but tired, like a candle burning near its end. And he noticed that no matter how late it was, no matter how quiet the house became, she was always still working, still cleaning, still making herself useful so she would not become invisible. The man noticed her too, but differently. To him, she was part of the structure that kept his life from collapsing. He appreciated her efficiency, her reliability, the way she made the house feel less empty without ever demanding anything in return. He did not ask where she went on her days off or who she spoke to when she was alone. In his mind, distance was safety. Getting close meant risking loss, and he had already lost too much. So he thanked her with nods and paid her on time, believing that was enough. But houses have memories, and nights have a way of revealing what daylight hides. On that particular night, the boy could not sleep. The world felt too big, his thoughts too loud. He padded down the hallway, clutching his blanket, drawn by the soft sound of running water. From the doorway, he saw her at the sink, sleeves rolled up, hair tied back, eyes focused on a task that did not require tears. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, marking time that seemed to belong only to her. She did not see him at first. She was lost in the motion, in the comfort of doing something familiar. Washing dishes late at night had become her ritual, a way to end the day, a way to feel needed. It was also a way to delay going to the small room that waited. For her, at the end of the hall, a room with bare walls and a window that looked out on nothing. As long as she kept moving, she did not have to think about how temporary everything was. The boy stood there, absorbing the scene, feeling something he could not yet name. It was not sadness exactly, but it lived close to it. He sensed that she was carrying something heavy, something unseen. Without fully understanding why, he felt a need to protect her, to make sure she was not forgotten. When the man came looking for his son and saw him pointing toward the kitchen, a simple observation fell from the child's lips, innocent and powerful. She was still there. That sentence, so small, landed with unexpected force. The man paused, really paused, for the first time in months. He looked at the clock. He looked at the woman's tired back. He realized he had never once asked her to stop, never told her it was enough, never considered what staying so late might cost her. In that moment, something shifted. The house felt different, as if it were holding its breath. The days that followed were subtle in their changes. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic confessions. Instead, there were small mercies. The man began insisting she take evenings off. He asked about her past, listening without interrupting, learning about the life she had lived before she arrived at his door. The boy grew closer to her, bringing her drawings, sitting beside her during quiet moments, treating her presence as something permanent rather than provisional. And she slowly, cautiously allowed herself to rest. Healing did not come all at once. There were setbacks, moments when old fears resurfaced. She worried about becoming a burden, about being asked to leave. She had learned the hard way that stability could vanish overnight, but each time doubt crept in, there was evidence to counter it, a place set for her at the table, a coat waiting by the door when the weather turned cold, a simple question about how her day had been. These were not extraordinary acts, but together they formed a net strong enough to catch a falling heart. As weeks turned into months, the house filled with a new kind of warmth. Laughter returned, tentative at first, then freer. The boy thrived, his world made safer by the knowledge that the woman who cared for him was not disappearing. The man found himself smiling more, breathing easier, discovering that opening his life to another person did not erase the past, but honored it by making room for the future. And she began to believe that staying did not have to mean overstaying. One evening, the kitchen was quiet again, but this time the silence felt peaceful rather than lonely. The dishes were done early. The lights were dimmed. She sat at the table, hands wrapped around a warm cup, feeling something unfamiliar settle in her chest. It was the sense of belonging, fragile but real. She was no longer just the woman who washed dishes late at night. She was part of the story unfolding within those walls. If this story has touched your heart, if it has reminded you of someone who stayed when they did not have to, or someone who needed to be seen, please take a moment now to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps stories like this reach others who may need a reminder that kindness can change lives. And before the ending, we have one special request. Please comment below with a single word that represents what this story made you feel. Hope, love, compassion, or anything that came to your heart. In the end, what saved her was not charity or obligation, but recognition. A child's simple awareness cracked open a door that adults had kept closed out of fear. A man's willingness to listen turned a house into a home again. And a woman's quiet perseverance proved that even the most overlooked acts, like washing dishes in the dead of night, can become the starting point of something beautiful. She stayed not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she was finally wanted there. And sometimes that is all a heart needs to begin again.